Welcome to another episode of Yeah, but how much does it cost? This is a good question in farming because we can all love working the land and do lots of things for the environment, but it's a big question about how much things cost because it has a lot to do with your bottom line if you actually make a profit in the end. So today,
it's all about bulls. Purebred bull can cost anywhere from probably around $5,000 for an animal all the way up to $12,000, $15,000, $18,000. A good-looking bull is pretty masculine looking. Big head, big strong neck, big shoulders, and a little narrower in the waist.
all right, so when we're talking about bulls, we need to think about a few things. You need them to produce baby
Cattle.
calves.
You only need about one bull for about 25 cows. Dad has had up to 60 cows, but you can get a
So we keep
bull who's kind of worn out at the end of the season.
we keep two just in case.
A heifer is a female cow who has not had a calf. So you have heifers and you have cows, and then among
Once
boys,
you've had a calf, you're a cow.
Yeah.
So the other thing that you can do if you don't want to have bulls and you don't have a place to keep them because they have to be separate all the time, is you can artificially inseminate.
Artificial insemination has a lot of advantages. Where, you don't have to keep a bull. Bulls are expensive. They get hurt. They go sterile. So you can get straws of semen pretty cheaply. When the cows are in heat, then you inseminate them. But
How do you do that?
well, it's a process.
That we've never done. So
I've never done it. I can't really speak to it. You give your cow a shot of something that causes them to all come in to heat at the same time, and then you can inseminate all your cattle at the same time. I've heard that can be quite dangerous.
You have to remember that everything you do costs money. So if you get that shot to get them all into heat, then that costs money, and then you've got to get the semen, which costs money, and all of these things are adding to your bottom line. So how much did our bull cost? We got a really good deal. We got a bull, 4 pregnant cows, 2 yearlings, and 2 calves, one of which was also male. We got all of them for $10,000. So it sounds like a lot of money maybe, but it actually means that bull is worth, I don't know, maybe a maximum of $3,000 that we paid in that lot. So if we average out the $3,000 over, let's say, 5 years of him being around, that's just $600 a year for his services, as opposed to artificial insemination, which works about 50% of the time. So according to some sources that I read, it might cost you something like $100 per cow per pregnancy. So for our 25 cows, that would cost us $2,500, meaning that in 5 years we would spend a whole lot more than we will for his services at $3,000. Of course, he has to eat, and that costs us, but not really that much because they're just eating hay that we hay ourselves, and he is worth something. In the end, the bulls end up as just ground beef, and we might get a little over $1,000 for him.
It's always a challenge keeping bulls in. Right now, these guys are kind of on a timeout because we had yearling calves up here, and he jumped an electric fence. We got him into the barn lot to try to keep him in, and he promptly jumped over the fence, squashed it down actually. He reared up on it and just smashed it down and climbed over and was in with the yearlings, and then we think he bred several of them probably. The other interesting thing about bulls is whenever you move them, if you've got 2 of them or 3 of them together, they immediately begin to fight. And it's who's quién es más macho. You know, if you have them around female cattle, they are going to have to duke it out to see who's top dog. I made a mistake here with our Hereford bulls. I was keeping the bulls in this lot, but I had to move the cows through part of it. And so I put the bulls in there together, and they were fine until the cows showed up. And they were fighting in that really small enclosed area and crashing each other up against the fences, and they normally won't really hurt each other, but in this case there was something, a sharp piece of metal on the ground or something, and one of them got a really bad cut on his foot and cut a major artery, and he almost died. But he wouldn't stop fighting. You know, they weren't done yet, and he fought. He actually won the fight, and then went out and laid down and just about gave up the ghost.
So the last cost I want to talk about today in terms of bulls is the cost of your mental health. And with farming, especially in your first years, what's not clear before you start is how much stress there is. The bulls got in with the heifers, and they likely impregnated a few of them, which is problematic. So there's always these unexpected issues going on, which can be really, really, really stressful. People come out to farm thinking you're just gonna get, your hands back in the dirt, and you're gonna, simplify your life. And the reality is that it's really an extremely stressful type of job to have, because your life becomes at the mercy of so many things that you can't control. Learning how to deal with that kind of stress is really, really important, and it's been a huge learning curve for us. So walking, getting out, being in the fresh air, these beautiful, beautiful places in our country, this is where we live.
One of these days I sit on cornerstones and count the time in quarter tones to 10.
And that's how we can take care of ourselves and our mental health. It's remembering why we're here and enjoying it in the moment instead of being caught up in everything that's wrong with what we're doing and how we don't know parts and how we wish we had 15 years of experience, but we don't. And you can always get a puppy and enjoy life that way too. Snooks, come here. All right, so from Whippoorwill Creek Farm,
Goodbye.
goodbye.
You should settle down, pick your peace with the ground. Follow that ox border where the water runs clean. Dark sergeant